The departure. The grand hall of the Galactic Council shimmered with the light of 1,000 stars, projected across its vaulted ceiling in a breathtaking display of cosmic majesty. 217 species were represented here, from the crystalline Vordarii, who communicated through light patterns, to the gaseous Nebulans, who hovered in specially designed containment fields. They had gathered for what was supposed to be a routine assembly, until Captain Ileana Reyes of Earth took the central podium. Ileana stood tall, her dark hair pulled back in a severe bun that emphasized the sharp angles of her face. Her deep brown eyes surveyed the chamber with quiet determination. The navy blue uniform of the United Earth Space Command clung to her athletic frame, adorned only with the silver pins of her rank and the small blue-green sphere representing Earth. Esteemed representatives of the Galactic Council, she began, her voice steady and clear. For 43 standard cycles, humanity has been part of this august body. We've learned much, contributed where we could, and tried to be worthy members of this interstellar community. The archivist of proceedings, a towering arachnoid being with 12 appendages, each holding a different recording device, shifted uncomfortably. Something in Captain Rice's tone suggested this wasn't going to be the expected resource allocation discussion. Today, I stand before you with news that may come as a surprise, Ileana continued. After extensive deliberation among Earth's governing bodies, we have reached an unanimous decision. As of this moment, humanity formally withdraws from the Galactic Council and all associated treaties. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of sounds, clicks, whistles, rumbles, and translated voices all blending together in shock and outrage. Ambassador Turnok of the Saurian Consortium slammed his scaled fist on the console before him. "This is unprecedented," he hissed, his forked tongue flicking rapidly in agitation. "No species has ever withdrawn once granted membership. The protocols." "We're aware there are no protocols for withdrawal," Ileana replied calmly. "That's precisely why we're here, to ensure our departure is peaceful and transparent." High Counselor Zivra, an ethereal being composed of swirling light patterns who had led the Council for over 2 centuries, floated forward. When she spoke, her voice was melodious yet tinged with confusion. "Captain Rice, surely there has been some misunderstanding. If Earth has grievances, the Council exists to address them. What could possibly motivate this drastic action?" Ileana's expression softened slightly. "With respect, High Counselor, this isn't a decision made in anger or haste. For decades, humanity has found itself increasingly constrained by Council regulations that, while well-intentioned, fail to account for our unique developmental path." She gestured to the star map displayed above. "Your civilization's standard technological progression model requires centuries of development on single planets before expanding outward. Humanity leaped to the stars in barely a century after discovering nuclear fission. Your economic models presume resource scarcity as temporary. We evolved in constant competition for limited resources." The atmosphere in the chamber grew tense as Ileana continued. "Every regulation, every guideline created by this body assumes a developmental path that humanity simply didn't follow. We've been trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, and it's stunting us both. The Tanaki restrictions on AI development alone have set our research back by decades." Ambassador Vrex of the Hegemony, a massive being with metallic skin that reflected the chamber's lights in rainbow patterns, leaned forward. "Let us speak plainly, Captain. Your species wishes to pursue technologies the Council has deemed too dangerous for responsible use." Ileana met his gaze unflinchingly. "We wish to pursue our own path without having to justify every deviation from a roadmap we never agreed to. This isn't about creating weapons or threatening others. It's about self-determination." As the debate raged on, no one noticed the subtle changes occurring beyond the Council space station. Stars in neighboring systems flickered momentarily, as if responding to an invisible signal. Automated sensors recorded minor gravitational anomalies that self-corrected within seconds, unusual but not alarming enough to trigger emergency protocols. After 3 hours of heated discussion and failed attempts to change humanity's position, the Council reluctantly acknowledged Earth's withdrawal. The formal declarations were filed, access codes to shared databases were revoked, and human representatives began the process of departing. As Ileana made her way back to her ship, the Aurora, she was intercepted by Zivra, who had slipped away from the main proceedings. Captain Reyes, the High Counselor's light pattern swirled in what Ileana had learned to recognize as concern. "There's something you should know, something not in the official records." Ileana paused, her curiosity piqued. "I'm listening." The founders of the Council discovered something long ago, a pattern in the cosmos. Civilizations that reach a certain point and then isolate themselves tend to. The light being hesitated. They tend to draw attention, not the kind one wants. "Are you threatening us?" Ileana's voice hardened. "No, I'm warning you. The universe is ancient, with forces we still don't understand. Be careful, Captain. Watch the stars." With that cryptic message, Zivra glided away, leaving Ileana puzzled but unwavering in her resolve. Back on Earth, the news of the withdrawal spread rapidly, eliciting mixed reactions. In New Shanghai, crowds gathered in celebration, holographic displays showing Captain Rice's speech playing on endless loops. In the European Federation, protests erupted outside government buildings, with citizens demanding explanations for a decision they felt had been made without proper consultation. Ileana stepped off her shuttle at Earth Central Command in Geneva, immediately surrounded by a mix of military personnel and government officials. Through the massive viewports of the landing bay, she could see news drones hovering just outside the restricted airspace, desperate for footage. "Quite the homecoming, Captain," remarked Commander Jackson, a weathered veteran who had served as her mentor at the academy. "You've created quite the stir." Ileana suppressed a sigh. "I was just the messenger, sir." "Sometimes the messenger makes history," he replied, guiding her through a series of security checkpoints. "The Security Council is waiting for your debrief." The debriefing was intense but straightforward, until Dr. Lena Chen, head of Earth's Astrophysics Division, interrupted with an urgent report. "We've detected unusual stellar activity across multiple sectors," she explained, projecting a three-dimensional map of nearby space. Red dots pulsed across various regions, representing anomalous readings. It began precisely when Captain Rice delivered our withdrawal notice. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "What kind of activity?" Ileana asked, remembering Zivra's warning. Dr. Chen's expression was grim. "Stars flickering in synchronized patterns. Gravitational waves that don't match any known natural phenomenon. And most concerning, a series of signals propagating through subspace." "Signals? From whom?" demanded General Rivera, his bushy eyebrows drawing together. "That's just it," Dr. Chen replied quietly. "We don't know. The patterns don't match any species in our database, Council or otherwise. But they're spreading, moving from system to system, and they're heading toward Earth." Ileana felt a chill run down her spine. "How long do we have?" "At current speeds, 3 weeks, maybe less." General Rivera straightened, his military training taking over. "We need to mobilize the fleet, establish defensive perimeters around all human colonies. And if it's not hostile," Ileana challenged, "if we're looking at a natural phenomenon or a previously unknown intelligence attempting contact, then our ships will be in position to greet them properly," Rivera replied grimly. As the meeting dissolved into strategic planning, Ileana found herself drawn back to the stellar map. Something about the pattern of anomalies seemed almost deliberate, not random fluctuations, but a message written in the language of starlight. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, Council species watched with a mixture of apprehension and curiosity as humanity prepared for whatever was coming. Some, like the Saurians, predicted Earth's swift demise without Council protection. Others, like the enigmatic Vordari, began quiet preparations of their own, recognizing patterns in the cosmos that had not been seen for millennia. On a remote human colony called New Horizon, colonists reported seeing impossible colors in the night sky. Children woke crying from dreams of voices speaking in languages no human had ever heard. And in the deep void between stars, something ancient stirred from slumber, drawn by the unprecedented. A young species that had walked away from the established order, choosing to face the cosmos on its own terms. The stars continued to flicker, their rhythm increasingly urgent, as if trying to convey a warning, or perhaps an invitation. Humanity stood at the precipice of a new era, about to discover exactly what it meant to forge their own path among the stars. And whatever was coming, they would face it as they had faced every challenge since climbing down from the trees of ancient Earth, with determination, ingenuity, and the unshakable belief that they belonged among the stars. The Awakening. Aboard the UES Intrepid, Captain Ileana Reyes gazed through the observation deck's viewport at the swirling anomaly before them. What had begun as subtle stellar fluctuations had evolved into something far more alarming. A vast region of space where the normal laws of physics seemed to be unraveling. Stars pulsed with unnatural colors, and the fabric of space itself appeared to be folding inward, creating a slowly expanding vortex of distorted reality. "Tell me something reassuring, Dr. Chen," Ileana said, not taking her eyes off the hypnotic pattern swirling beyond the reinforced glass. Dr. Lena Chen, who had insisted on joining this expedition despite the obvious dangers, shook her head. Her hands danced across holographic displays, running simulations and analyzing the torrent of data from the ship's sensors. "I wish I could," she replied. "But we're in uncharted territory, literally and figuratively. The quantum field readings are off the charts, suggesting we're witnessing a partial collapse of dimensional boundaries." Commander Jackson approached, his face grim. "We've lost contact with New Horizon Colony. Last transmission reported lights in the sky coming down. Then nothing." Ileana's jaw tightened. New Horizon was the closest human settlement to the anomaly, home to over 30,000 colonists, including families with children. If this phenomenon was expanding and had reached them, "Set course for New Horizon," she ordered. "Maximum speed." As the Intrepid altered course, Ileana couldn't shake the memory of High Counselor Zivor's warning. Watch the stars. Was this what she had meant? Had the Council known something like this would happen if a species broke away? The journey to New Horizon took 16 tense hours, during which 3 more colonies went silent. When they finally arrived, the scene before them defied comprehension. The planet itself appeared intact, but it was surrounded by a shimmering veil of energy that rippled like water. Through this translucent barrier, they could see the colony, buildings, infrastructure, even vehicles frozen in motion, as if time itself had stopped. "Life signs," Ileana demanded. The sensor officer looked up, confusion written across his face. "Yes and no, Captain. We're detecting the colonists, but their biosignatures are altered. They're alive, but in some state we've never encountered before. It's as if they're suspended between moments," Dr. Chen murmured, studying the readings. "Not dead, but not fully existing in our continuum either." Before Ileana could respond, a blinding flash of light erupted from the planet's surface. When her vision cleared, she gasped. Hovering above the colony was a massive entity that defied easy description. It resembled a writhing mass of geometric shapes that constantly shifted and rearranged themselves, forming and dissolving patterns of impossible complexity. Tendrils of energy extended from its core, reaching down to various points on the colony below. "What in heaven's name is that?" Commander Jackson whispered. The ship's communication system suddenly activated, though no one had initiated contact. A voice filled the bridge, or rather, thousands of voices speaking in perfect unison, creating a harmonic chorus that was both beautiful and utterly alien. "Humanity, you have broken the TATTRN. UAAV is TPP outside the EVHA. This is no pyramid. Ileana stepped forward. This is Captain Ileana Reyes of the United Earth Space Command. Identify yourself and state your intentions toward our colonies. The entity pulsed, its colors shifting through spectrums visible and invisible to human eyes. We are the architects. We destabilize the order of Galactic AAC and Scion. When your kind still corrobolated in Nudi, the Council ways curated to maintain our design. A slow, controlled evolution of species. UAVREGCTED this design. Such DEVIHLITINE. KNO to be ALOID. Understanding dawned on Ileana. The Galactic Council wasn't just a political body. It was a control mechanism designed to keep emerging civilizations on a predictable path, preventing any rapid advancement that might threaten. What? The status quo. The dominance of whatever these architects were. We have the right to determine our own future, Ileana responded firmly. Human development follows its own pattern. We cannot and will not conform to a model that wasn't designed for us. Your DFIANC will end. Your colonize YLBSUSP and DD UNTLU into the KONCL and HCCEP GIDNC. Resistance IS. Unnecessary, interrupted a new voice. A holographic projection appeared on the bridge. High Counselor Zivra. Captain Rice, I apologize for the intrusion into your systems. When we detected the awakening of the architects, I took the liberty of following your expedition. Ileana stared in shock as a Galactic Council vessel decloaked nearby. You knew about these entities. Not entirely, Zivret admitted. There are ancient records, warnings passed down through Council leadership for millennia. The founders discovered something they called the Watchers in the Void. Beings who seemed to react when civilizations developed too quickly or unpredictably. Over time, the Council's regulatory approach evolved as a way to avoid triggering them. The entity, the architect, pulsed angrily, sending waves of energy that buffeted both ships. The Council EXISTs, to serve our design. UAVFAILED in your purpose, ZIVR. Perhaps, the High Counselor responded calmly, or perhaps it is time for the design to evolve. The universe is not static. Why should its governance be? As this exchange continued, Ileana noticed Dr. Chen frantically working at a console, correlating data and running simulations. When their eyes met, the scientist nodded subtly, indicating she had discovered something important. Using the distraction provided by Ziver's discussion with the entity, Ileana moved to Chen's station. What have you found? She whispered. The entity's energy signature, Chen replied quietly. It's complex, but not incomprehensible. It exists partially in higher dimensions, but it's interacting with our reality through specific quantum resonance patterns. And, she hesitated, I believe we can disrupt those patterns. How? The quantum entanglement drive on this ship, if we reconfigure it to generate an inverse resonance field and detonate it near the entity's core, it should destabilize its connection to our dimension. Ileana stared at her. You're talking about sacrificing our ship's drive. We'd be stranded. Dr. Chen nodded grimly. Yes, but the colony would be freed. Without hesitation, Ileana straightened. Do it. I'll create a diversion. Returning to the center of the bridge, Ileana addressed the entity again. Architect, we wish to propose an alternative. Humanity will consider rejoining the Council under modified terms if you restore our colonies immediately. The geometric pattern swirled faster, seemingly intrigued. Specify these terms. As Ileana engaged the entity in negotiation she had no intention of concluding, Dr. Chen and a team of engineers worked furiously to modify the quantum drive. Commander Jackson coordinated the evacuation of non-essential personnel to escape pods, prepared to launch at a moment's notice. The architect, growing suspicious of the activity aboard the Intrepid, began probing the ship with tendrils of energy. This is futile. Before it could act, Eliana gave the order. Now. The modified drive was ejected from the ship, hurtling toward the entity's core. At the same time, escape pods jettisoned in all directions, carrying the majority of the crew away from the impending confrontation. The architect realized the threat too late. As the drive reached its target, Dr. Chen activated the resonance pulse remotely. A flash of impossible brightness erupted, followed by a shockwave that rippled through multiple dimensions simultaneously. The entity's form began to distort and fragment, its patterns losing coherence. It emitted a sound that was felt rather than heard, a psychic scream of rage and pain that echoed across light years. The shimmering barrier around New Horizon fluctuated and then collapsed, releasing the colonists from their suspended state. This is not the end. The architect's voices fractured and desynchronized as its form continued to disintegrate. Others wail Tjelnam. The pattern must be maintained. With a final pulse of energy, the entity vanished, not destroyed, Eliana suspected, but forcibly ejected from their dimension back to whatever higher plane it normally inhabited. The aftermath was chaotic but triumphant. The colonists of New Horizon were shaken but alive, with no memory of their time in suspension. The other affected colonies similarly returned to normal, though strange dreams and inexplicable phenomena would persist for years to come. 2 days later, an emergency session of the Galactic Council was convened. For the first time in its history, a non-member species was invited to address the full assembly. Captain Ileana Reyes, still wearing the same uniform she'd fought in, stood before representatives of 217 civilizations. The architects are real, she began without preamble. They've been manipulating galactic development for millions of years, using the Council, knowingly or unknowingly, as their instrument of control. This changes everything. Murmurs swept through the chamber as many species confronted this revelation for the first time. Some delegates appeared shocked, others strangely unsurprised. Humanity doesn't seek to destroy what you've built here, Ileana continued. The Council has done much good, fostering peace and cooperation across thousands of worlds. But it must evolve. No longer can we accept arbitrary restrictions on development based on fear of these entities. High Counselor Zivra floated forward. What do you propose, Captain Reyes? A new compact, one that respects the unique evolutionary paths of all species while maintaining the cooperative spirit that makes the Council valuable. And most importantly, a united front against any future interference from the architects or their kind. To everyone's surprise, Ambassador Turnok of the Saurian Consortium, who had been one of the most vocal opponents of humanity's withdrawal, was the first to speak in support. The humans have shown courage where we showed complacency, he admitted, scales flushing with a color that indicated respect in Saurian culture. Perhaps it is time for the Council to learn from them, rather than the reverse. Over the next several weeks, a new framework was negotiated. Humanity would return to the Council, but with special dispensations recognizing their unique developmental requirements. In exchange, Earth would share the technology developed by Dr. Chen to detect and potentially repel future incursions by the architects. More significantly, the incident sparked a renaissance across Council space. Species that had long suppressed their innovative tendencies out of deference to Council regulations began to explore new paths, creating a flowering of diverse technologies and approaches that strengthened the galactic community rather than weakening it. As for Captain Ileana Reyes, she declined offers of political positions, preferring to return to space. The Intrepid, refitted with a new quantum drive, was assigned to patrol the borders of known space, watching for signs of the architect's return. On the night before her departure, Ileana stood on the observation deck of Earth Central Command. Looking up at the stars, they shone steadily now, their ancient light a reminder of the vastness and mystery of the universe. Commander Jackson joined her, offering a cup of coffee. "Do you think they'll be back?" Without question, Ileana replied, accepting the drink. "But next time, we won't be facing them alone." As if in response, a message arrived from High Counselor Zivra. "The Vordari have detected unusual patterns in the sickness sector. Their ships are moving to investigate, but they request the Intrepid join them. It seems your expertise in dealing with certain ancient entities is already in demand." Ileana smiled. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge, and not only survived but thrived, winning the respect of the galaxy through courage and ingenuity rather than conquest. Whatever came next, they would face it as they always had, standing tall among the stars, unafraid to forge their own path through the cosmos. The moment humans had walked away from the Galactic Council, the stars had indeed trembled, not in fear, but in anticipation of what this bold young species would do next.